See. All right. Let's go to the beginning of the slides. All right, here we are. So tonight we are learning a little bit about our PhD in educational policy and leadership. Welcome. As I said earlier, thank you guys for all joining us this evening or whatever time it is, wherever you are. My name is Alyssa Yesko. I'm the director of the Pathways into Education Center. So our office advises all prospective students who are interested in any programs in the School of Education. We help them to kind of figure out which program is right for them, but then also answer questions about that program. We are a great place to start if you have questions, and usually we can answer them. If we can't, we will find the person who can. I am also an alumni of this program. So I graduated from the PhD program in 2020. So I was not too long ago a student. So I can definitely answer questions from that perspective as well. I was working full time while I was in the program. So if any of you are in that situation, and you have any questions for me, I'm happy to share. We have several members from the department also here with us, and so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Dr. Schiller, you're first on my screen, so I'll let you go first.
I'm honored, Alyssa, as always. Hi, I'm Catherine Schiller. I'm Associate Professor and Department Chair in Ed Policy and Leadership. I have been here for a long time, since the turn of the century, which seems really awkward, but greatly enjoy working with our doctoral students. And we celebrated yesterday. One of my doctoral students defended her dissertation proposal, did an excellent job. And there's another dissertation proposal defense tomorrow. So people do move through coursework into dissertations and finish dissertations. So, and we all celebrate. A little bit about myself. I am a sociologist by training, and I tend to do mostly quantitative work related to stratification and policy and K-12 education, but I also do program evaluations and other types of international comparative work also. I'm going to pass it on down to Maria, who's the next one down on my screen.
Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Maria Moon. I am the department coordinator for educational policy and leadership, which essentially is I'm the person in the office, the point person that's kind of the liaison between the department and students, faculty. I am the collector of the paperwork. I keep track of the records and everything, and I'm kind of the point person. So you would get to know me pretty well should you come to the department. I have been with the department 10 years. It's a really good department, very diverse. A lot of good things about the department. I've been at the university now 23 years, started out in recreation and athletics, kind of a student affairs type of thing, and moved over toward academics. And it's a great place to be. And we'll tell you a little bit more about it if you have some questions. I guess I will pass it on to Gina Giuliano.
Hi, my name is Gina Giuliano. I'm also an alumna of the doctoral program, but from 23 years ago, I guess, 23 and a half, and also an alumna of UAlbany at the master's level, not with this department, but with public administration. I advise all new admits and non-degree students also during their time here. I also teach mostly at the undergraduate level, but I teach one graduate course per semester as well. You'll probably get to know me fairly well because I'm the keeper of the required course permission numbers. I don't want to say important courses. I almost did. Don't mean that. All courses are important, but of the required course permission numbers. So even once I am not serving as your advisor, you would get important permission numbers from me. And so most students do know who I am and try to be nice to me because they want those permission numbers. It is, as Maria said, it's a great place to be, and it's a wonderful program. And so I'm happy to answer any questions at any time that anyone has. So welcome to the session.
Passing on down to Tennille, who I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tennille Trollian. I'm a faculty member in the department as well. And I primarily focus on higher education within the department. So my research is focused on higher ed with an emphasis on college students and college student learning. I also teach in the doctoral program. Dr. Giuliano mentioned some of the courses that are focused that you need to get permission numbers for. So the core courses in the department, I actually teach 2 of the core courses in the doctoral program. The last 2 courses that you take as part of the doctoral program that are focused on research methods and preparing to write your dissertation. So I also teach courses in the department, sociology of higher education finance, college student persistence, cradle to career, a whole host of different things. So I'm also chair of the department's admissions committee. So if you have specific questions about the admission requirements or submitting your application materials, I'm happy to try to answer those. So we're glad you're here. Welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. All right. So a bit about our program. So our PhD in educational policy and leadership allows you to advance both your career and your research skills to meet your goals either in your professional area, in academia, in educational administration, policy analysis. The program allows you to pursue research in a variety of settings. So you learned a little bit about some of the expertise of some of the faculty within the department, but we have faculty with a range of knowledge in both K-12 education, higher education, education from a state or federal government level, international education. So lots of different areas to pursue. And the program itself is 69 credits plus dissertation. So you complete the required 69 credits and then you continuously enroll as you complete your dissertation. There's a flexible course offering for working professionals, online and evening, which I'll discuss. And another plus for this program is that previous graduate coursework can count toward the program. So I'm also going to talk about that as well. Within the program, I mentioned different areas of expertise of our faculty, which allow our students to choose areas of concentration that most closely align with their goals and their interests. So there's the educational policy concentration, which allows you to use the social sciences to approach the policy process from policy creation to policy evaluation, policy what what else do you do with policies? Policy enactment, sorry. So you pursue students in this area typically pursue roles in government, research, advocacy, academia, and more. I mentioned that we have lots of international scholars, so our global and comparative educational policy is a great fit for those interested in international education. So this is looking at policy from a global perspective, learning about policy in those contexts, and alumni of this concentration work in foreign ministries, NGOs, World Bank, UNESCO, and more, even in higher education, where they focus on international education as well. There's the higher education leadership concentration. This is the concentration that I pursued when I was in the program. And this concentration prepares students for leadership, policy, and faculty positions at colleges, universities, and related institutions. Job opportunities in a number of different areas. So if you can think about all of the different areas across higher education, there's something that you can learn from this program for everyone in those fields. This would also align well with those who are pursuing adult or continuing education positions. And then we also have the school leadership concentration that prepares for leadership positions at all levels of education. So all the way from pre-K to university. This is a school leadership concentration. It does not lead to a certification as, let's say, a school building leader or a school district leader, But we can talk about that a little bit later if people have questions about that process. So the program itself, this is what comprises the 69 credits that I had mentioned earlier. So there's pre-core requirements that all students take, as well as core requirements. Some of those focus on social analysis, organizational structure, and then there's concentration courses. So I mentioned the 4 different concentrations that we offer. You will take 15 to 18 credits in those areas. There's the support discipline courses where an area of the social sciences is applied to education. So Tennille mentioned sociology of higher education. That's a great example of a support discipline course. There's the research sequence, which is typically the final 2 courses that you take as you're preparing to conduct your own research and write your dissertation. And then there are 21 to 24 credits that you're able to take in electives, which is wonderful because it allows you to further explore things that you're interested in. There's lots of interesting courses within the department that you can take. And then, of course, there's the dissertation, which involves original research and a doctoral examination. For the current doctoral examination that we offer is I believe it's similar to when I took it not that long ago, but it is over the course of about 3 or 4 days. You are provided with up to 4 prompts, I believe, and you are expected to apply the knowledge that you've learned of different policy analysis, organizational theories, to those prompts to write 2 10-page responses to the prompts. And so it's not like a sit-down exam where you're taking multiple choice, but you are using the knowledge that you've gained throughout the program to be able to write an appropriate response to the prompts that are given. This is just the program planning sheet for the PhD program, which kind of breaks down everything that I just said as far as the requirements for the degree. This just puts it in a really nice organized way so that you can sort of visualize it. You'll see here that there are opportunities for transfer or advanced standing, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but this helps you to sort of visualize, what needs to be done to complete this program. Now, I'm not going to read this. That would be insane. But this is just a visual of all of the different courses that are offered within the Educational Policy and Leadership Department. If you scan it even just quickly, you'll see that there is that very wide range of areas offered. Lots of interesting courses. I'm seeing a lot of courses that I took that I'm having memories of, courses that I loved. One of my favorites was the Cradle to Career course that Tennille mentioned. But yeah, there's a lot of great course offerings within the department. Our faculty have worked in or with a number of organizations and conduct research in a number of areas. So there are those who focus on educational economic perspectives in education, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, so UNESCO, the National Advisory Board for the U.S. National Center for Mental Health in Schools, academic affairs to the United Nations Global Compact. So there's lots of different areas that our faculty have made impacts at real levels of education, who these are the people that you would be learning from. So wonderful opportunities. If you want to get to know our faculty and what they've been up to, this is the Department of Educational Policy and Leadership homepage. So if you're on the School of Education homepage, so I'll bring you there. If you're at albany.edu/education and you scroll down to departments and you click on Educational Policy and Leadership and go to the department page, that will bring you to where we just were. It highlights each of our programs, but also if you scroll down, each of our faculty are on this page, and you can click on their names to learn a little bit more about them, their research interests, their accomplishments. As a prospective doctoral student, it might be a good idea to see whose interests might align with your own, so that you might be able to, think about who you might want to work with when you're in this program and who you might want to learn from. So that's always a great idea. So information for our applicants. The required application materials are transcripts from all schools attended, 3 letters of recommendation with at least 2 from professors. You may submit up to 5 letters of recommendation, a resume, a personal statement of goals, an educational leadership essay, and an academic writing sample. I'll talk about all of these things. So right now, if you are planning to enroll without consideration for a departmental assistantship, then there's rolling admissions for that option. I always recommend students applying to a PhD program. If you're planning to apply for the program with the rolling admissions deadline, give about 8 or so weeks before the semester starts, the semester that you'd like to enroll in, to submit your application. So that provides the admissions committee with plenty of time to give considerable review time to your application, to consider whether you're a great fit for the program. And then that would also allow you ample time to do all of the enrollment activities, create your student accounts, your email address, get registered for the classes that you want before they might fill up. So that's my general recommendation. If you are planning to apply for a departmental assistantship consideration, keep in mind you would need to study full-time in those instances. And the assistantships are based on what we have available at the time. So that's also something that we consider when we're considering those applications. Now, the GRE requirement on our website says that it is officially waived through fall 2023. Is there someone from the department who can speak on where that stands?
Neil sent me a code of to Neil.
Yeah, we are in the process of trying to remove the GRE requirement
Okay.
for the PhD program. It's our intention to waive it at this point, sort of temporarily until that process has been approved.
Okay, so is it waived through spring 2024?
It is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, so transcripts. If you've previously attended UAlbany, you don't need to request transcripts for your application. They automatically get uploaded through the graduate school. When we're looking at your academic record, we are looking at all of the institutions and levels that you have studied. So I always like to mention, like, let's say you did your undergrad a long time ago and you didn't do so hot, but then you went back to graduate school and found something you were really passionate about and you had a much stronger academic record. Our application review process is very holistic. So we're going to look at everything. We're going to take into consideration, that you've done really well at the graduate level later in your time. So that's just an example. When you're uploading your transcripts, you can upload unofficial transcripts to your application. Although in order to officially enroll, we do need official transcripts. Transcripts can be mailed to the graduate school or emailed from your previous institution. So I do just like to point out, at this point that the graduate school has excellent instructions for submitting materials for your application. So this is the graduate school's homepage. The Graduate School UAlbany oversees graduate admissions, but also all graduate student policies. So that's why they're called the graduate school and not just graduate admissions. So if you are here and you click on admissions over here and then apply to a degree or certificate program, there's not only is this where you would start your application, but it allows you to it gives you great information on the steps to apply, using the online application portal, and then instructions for each of the application materials that might be needed for your application. So for example, I mentioned transcripts. This gives you instructions on how to submit those transcripts, where to have them sent to. So this is a really great resource, a wonderful website to help you out. Oh geez. So your letters of recommendation, these are submitted right through that online application portal that I mentioned. So essentially you go into your online application portal, enter the email address of your recommenders, and the email gets sent to them with a link and instructions on how to submit a letter on your behalf. We recommend that the letters of recommendation be specific to the program you're applying to whenever possible. So if you want to send your recommenders some information about this program so that they can write specifically about why you would be a good fit for this, that's always a great idea. Whenever possible, at least 2 of the letters of recommendation should be from faculty members, at least one of those from a full-time faculty member. The reason being that someone who has worked with you in an academic setting as your instructor can speak to your academic capabilities and your potential for success at the PhD level. Other letters can come from someone who has observed you in a professional setting. And then this is just my own personal recommendation to give your recommenders plenty of notice, as well as a hard deadline ahead of the application due date or the date that you plan to submit. So I hate to see when, a student has a fully complete application, but it's not being reviewed because they're waiting on letters of recommendation. So if you have a goal of having your application in by, let's say, December 1st, maybe asking your recommenders to have their letters submitted by November 20th. As someone who writes letters of recommendation, it's always really helpful for me to have a deadline. So your statement of goals or the written components of your applications, there's a few for this application. Your statement of goals, when we're looking at it, this allows us to learn about you and determine your fit for the program. Does what you hope to get out of the program match with what we can give? Are your research interests aligned with the types of things that we can teach you and the things that we can mentor you on? What can you offer our program? And then this is also an opportunity for us to evaluate your writing skills, which something got cut off there, but yeah, so turn on your spell check essentially. For you, this is your chance to talk about yourself, to brag about yourself. You can highlight your background, your interests, the skills that you have, what you hope to get out of the program. What are your research interests? What are your career goals? Why did you choose this program specifically? It should be purposeful and to the point. Do your research on the program that you're applying to. So by being here tonight, you're learning lots about the program. And you can incorporate some things that you've learned into why you think this program is a great fit for you. There are lots of helpful online resources to help write a statement of goals, and even your college's career center can be helpful. Your previous institution's career center might have some helpful resources. An academic writing sample is also one of the application requirements. So wherever possible, applicants should submit an English language sample of their academic work, such as a course term paper. And then an educational leadership essay, students select one from the two options of a prompt where they respond with no more than 800 words to the topic in the prompt. So you choose one and then you write your response. Some frequently asked questions. How long does this program typically take? That's a great question. There is no one singular answer. It's one of those like, it depends things, right? So it depends on a few different factors, but typical completion of a doctoral degree on average is about 4 years of full-time study. There are so many factors at play here though. Factors to consider include whether you're studying full or part-time, what are your life commitments, what are the number of transfer credits that you're bringing in, your time management skills and motivation to complete the program. Some people have no, they're absolutely fine moving through the program at a slower pace. Some people are like, I really want to get this done. What are your research and dissertation plans? So there are certain types of studies where the data collection process can take a really long time. There are others where it doesn't take quite as long. So all of these things factor into how long it would take to complete the program. But no matter what, there is an 8-year statute of limitations for all doctoral students at the university from the time that you start the program to complete it. Can the program be done part-time? I mentioned already, yes, this is absolutely possible. Many of our students are part-time students. I was one of them. Of course, going part-time lengthens the time to completion. And then I just want to mention, if you've ever been curious about a residency requirement for a doctoral program, it requires, for this program, it requires either a year of full-time study or work in a field that substantially relates to your degree. So I was working in higher education. My concentration was higher education. So I was able to fulfill the residency requirement by submitting a statement about the work that I was doing, rather than having to study full-time for a year. Continuous registration is required for our doctoral programs, although if necessary, a leave of absence can be permitted. Can my previous graduate coursework count toward the program? Yes, I pursued this option, so it allowed me to start with some credits under my belt. Previous applicable graduate coursework can count toward this program. You would work with your advisor after you enroll to apply for advanced standing for the coursework to count toward the degree. You are able to bring in up to 34 credits, so a very generous policy of previous coursework. So someone with a master's degree in a related field might have, several credits to use toward the program. Considerations include content. So does the course relate to the degree? Length of time since the course was taken, with really old courses being given a little bit more scrutiny, and then also your performance in the class. So like how well did you do? We wouldn't take certain courses with a lower grade. Are online courses offered? Yes, absolutely. We offer a robust selection of online courses in this department. Although course offerings differ from from semester to semester, there's a great selection of online, in-person, and hybrid course options. Online courses that we offer may be synchronous or asynchronous or a combination of the two. But just keep in mind, any in-person and synchronous online courses would be offered typically in the evenings to accommodate working professionals. I even took a course that was held on Saturdays. That was my research sequence course with Dr. Schiller. And at first I was like, wait, my Saturdays, but then I actually ended up loving it because I came in with a fresh mind instead of coming in after a day of work, where my mind had kind of like melted by that point. And we had really nice Saturday mornings together on the days that we did meet, but it was also hybrid. So there were some online pieces. This is a question that's almost always asked during these sessions. So I am going to go over some things, but I do want to mention that the best place to get information about financial aid, scholarships, payment plans, that is all the Office of Student Financial Services or the graduate school. So our graduate admissions. It's not my area of expertise, but I do know some things that I'll share. But very specific questions I usually give to the experts. So I mentioned earlier assistantships. If you wanted to apply for consideration for a departmental assistantship, the department offers a limited number of assistantships for doctoral students. They carry both tuition benefits and typically a stipend. It requires full-time study. I think we are no longer offering fully remote assistantships. So I need to, I need to change this slide. So that actually is not true, but
Not the university policy, by the way.
yes, that's correct. So I think this might have been a COVID slide potentially that I just have not updated. In these assistantships, you are working with faculty in some instances, either assisting with research or teaching, or in different departments, supporting School of Education wide efforts. So for example, I have 2 students from the EPL doctoral program currently working in my office in the Pi Center. You must indicate that you're applying for this on your application to the program. There are also assistantships available through the graduate school. So these are not departmental assistantships, but these are also available to full-time students. This is a great page on funding graduate studies that the graduate school has with lots of great information. But the graduate and teaching assistantships here, there may be some positions on our online career website, Handshake. And then these are the current graduate and teaching assistant vacancies. Right now, I happen to know there aren't any posted, but this changes all the time. But there are additional assistantship opportunities beyond what the campus offers listed here. There are university-wide scholarships available. Financial aid is the best place to go for information on that. There's also School of Education specific scholarships. So much smaller pool that you're applying against. This is information on last year's cycle. So typically applications for School of Ed scholarships go out in December and are usually due at the end of January, early February. And I just wanted to show you guys the list of scholarships, just so that you can see that there are several offered, and these are offered each year. Essentially, you complete one scholarship application and you check off all of the different scholarships based on their description that you think you are eligible for, and then you would be considered for all of those. So there's lots of different options. They are donor-based, so they would not cover the full cost of tuition, but every little bit certainly helps. And then again, for questions on tuition, fees, aid, scholarships, payment plans, on and off campus employment, financial aid and student accounts, and the graduate school is the place to go. Where to find more information? Earlier, we visited the department webpage that has great information on the program itself, admissions requirements and deadlines. That's the program page here, sorry. And the department website was where we saw all of those faculty bios. I also have the contact information for everybody here with us today. If you want their contact information, we can also type those into the chat. I know it's kind of hard to see against the purple here. And then, of course, the Pi Center, where I work, mentioned it earlier, great place to ask your questions. We pride ourselves on responding quickly to emails, and we also do Zoom appointments if you want to have a chat with one of us. So now is a good time for us to get onto the submitted questions or topics that students wanted to have covered during the session, and let some of our experts here answer these questions. So the first question that we got was, can the program be completed virtually? Does one need to relocate to Albany for the program?
It's not technically classified by New York State as a completely online program, so we do not currently have. It may be that you may not need to relocate to Albany, but may need to make plans to come and visit for a couple of class sessions. And we're trying to be flexible, but at this point, there are some courses that all of our doctoral programs are generally offered hybrid, but they are some that require, especially the core courses at the very end, where you're really getting to know the faculty, that may be dissertation committee chairs and the like. They usually have an on campus, but they may meet once or twice a semester or 3 times. Tennille, how often did you meet yours this year?
4.
And the last year, I redid the Saturday mornings that allowed people who lived at a distance, they came up Saturday mornings, and we did that. And I think we met 4 or 5 times. So it's not every Saturday morning, it's some Saturday mornings, but it is a chance to really see your faculty and your colleagues. Alyssa can speak to how important the support system of other doctoral students is for it. So particularly for the doctoral program, we think it's important to look for opportunities to connect. But no, you do not need to relocate to Albany for the program.
There were some students in my final research sequence who were traveling from a distance for those Saturdays that we did meet, but they were able to do the majority of the rest of their coursework online.
Yeah. I should note that one caveat is, unless you want to be a graduate assistant. University policy currently is that graduate assistants are expected to be able to come to campus if needed for the work for that employment work. And that's not a department policy, that's a university policy.
Could you discuss the pathway from the Community College Leadership Certificate of Graduate Study, which is a certificate program that we offer in our department, to the PhD in Educational Policy and Leadership? My understanding is that all of the credits from the Community College Leadership CGS would count toward the PhD.
Yeah, that's
correct.
correct.
Can it also be nested into the PhD program? So you can apply for the PhD program and complete the certificate, which is it 12 or 15 credits?
The Community College Leadership Certificate, I think, is 12 credits.
Okay. So you could complete that along the way as well.
Yes, we have a lot of students who, some of them start in the Community College Leadership Certificate program. Others will add the Community College Leadership Certificate as part of their PhD program. So with those 12 credits, if they are overlapping, will count toward both of those programs. So we do have students who, we have 2 certificate programs that are sort of designed to nest within some of our other programs. So there's the Community College Leadership Certificate, and then there's also the Certificate in International Education and Management. And both of those certificate programs, basically, you just need to make sure you're taking the required courses in those certificate programs, and those courses would also be applied to your PhD program.
Thanks. I put scholarships on here because it was mentioned and asked about so many times, but like I mentioned, financial aid is really the place to go. There was someone who did ask specifically about scholarships for international students. We have a very strong international student presence, both university-wide in the School of Education, but particularly in this program. But so because of that, our university does have the Office of International Student and Scholar Services. They might be a great place to go to ask about financial support specifically for international students.
They actually have a very nice web page that lists a variety of different sources for looking for international students looking for support. They also will facilitate some scholarship writing, like if you apply for a Fulbright from your area, or other types of international funded scholarships. The department itself just has our graduate assistantships, which are open to international students, but they're often very limited. So that we get many more, as Tennille will tell you, many more applicants for those positions than we could ever possibly fund. So it's really competitive, but I do know that our International Student Scholars Office, which is headed, by the way, by an EPL an EPL faculty member and staffed by a lot of EPL students, they're very, very active in trying to make sure we get support for students.
Thank you. So I talked a little bit about transfer credit, that it's certainly possible, that we have a generous policy, that it's it's something that we do after a student enrolls. But can someone talk a little bit more about the process of how a determination is made?
So students can transfer up to 34 credits of previous coursework. It's not always 34 credits that's approved, but you can have up to 34 that are possible. And so when you start working with your faculty advisor, once you're admitted to the program and enrolled for your first semester, you'll sit down with your advisor and you'll work together on creating a program plan. And so your program plan will, part of that process will be identifying, do you have previous graduate level coursework that you'd like to include as part of your program plan? And so for those 34 credits, you need to have, I think it's at least a B in each of those courses. And the courses have to be related to our department's curriculum. So if you had some coursework in, say, chemistry, that may not necessarily qualify. But if you had coursework in a social science field or other education-related coursework that you could sort of justify making a contribution to your overall PhD program, then you can request that those credits are included as part of your program plan. So to be able to have those credits approved, you need the approval of your advisor, you need the approval of the department's curriculum committee, and you also need the approval of the graduate school. So it's sort of a process, multi-layered process of approval, but you can request those credits be applied to your program. Usually they're applied to eliminate some of the courses that might fulfill your elective requirements. So most often the 34 credits are applied to your electives, but there are some courses that could be applied in other categories on your program plan as well.
So for example, I had a master's in educational psychology and methodology before I started the program. And for some of the courses, I provided a course description and, I provided written justification for why I thought the course could be used toward this degree. So that's how the process worked for me. Here we go. Good. Could I pursue a certificate in SBL, school building leadership, and carry some of those credits over to the PhD?
All of those credits
All
over
of
the
them.
PhD.
Yes. So if you are a current teacher looking to pursue a certification in school building leadership, you can certainly do that and then continue on.
We have two pathways into our SBL program. One is the people applying directly to the SBL program. You must have a master's degree, though, in order to be admitted to it. It's an admissions requirement, which is not usually a problem because most teachers in New York State have permanent certification, so they have a master's degree. The other pathway that we get increasingly is people coming into the PhD and then deciding, oh, well, I think I'm actually now I understand more about what school leadership is all about. I think I do want to get my SBL, and so they add, or my SDL, my district level, and so they add that as part of their program process. I'll note that if you're doing it that way, or if you're in the PhD program and want to add one of the CGSs or the a master's, it's you don't have to go back through the whole admissions process. It's add a supplemental degree process through MyU Albany. For most of them, it's just an admit. You can just add it. For the SBL, though, we do require a statement from someone who knows you in the field for potential about being a leader. That's because leadership potential is not an admissions requirement for the PhD, but it is for the SBL. So that's otherwise academically you're okay. We just want to make sure that people think, yes, this person has potential to be a school leader. And all the credits carry over into the PhD.
Can
I
credits
want
from
to,
sorry.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
just want to add
No,
one
no.
thing. It's 35 credits for the school building leader. And so just if you, let's say in theory, if you brought in 34 credits from your master's degree and you did 35 for your SBL, it doesn't mean that you're then done with the program and you just do your dissertation. You do need to take the required doctoral courses, which I think would come to 12 additional credits. Because you can't take them as part of the SBL. You have to be a doctoral student to take them.
4 times 3, so that's 12. Yes, that's correct. They would basically, if that's when I have a student that's doing that, like I do more work in the K-12 area. I work with them very carefully as they're approaching the end of their SBL program to be thinking very clearly about what they might want to do for a dissertation, so that they are ready to move into the doctoral core and into the research sequence relatively quickly. There's a couple of times we've had people do a few extra courses, usually in improvement science. We have improvement science micro-credential, or a research methods course or something like that. But it's all about the dissertation for those students. All about the dissertation. And if you just if you do the SBL with us, if you've done your SBL at another institution, we're still limited to the 35 or 34 credits. But if you do the SBL with us, we can take it all.
Can credits from other non-degree programs be applied as electives? It's the same rule for, as long as they're graduate non-degree courses, it's the same rule that we would look at for any type of transfer credit. Is it applicable? Did you perform well? How long ago was the course taken? So yes is the short answer. But again, like non-degree in chemistry, not so much. Do any professional development opportunities through SUNY Center for Professional Development count as credit toward the program? If it's not college credit, I'm gonna say no.
I think this is one I would have to research and check the graduate bulletin, which is the Bible.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure and I don't know much about the SUNY. I don't know, Tennille, if you know anything, or Gina, about the SUNY Center for Professional Development. I do know that the requirements for transfer credit from the universities, it needs to be courses that are offered as part of an accredited graduate program.
Yep.
So you can take it as non-degree, but it needs to be part of a graduate program. And again, I don't know about the SUNY Center for Professional Development, what is involved, whether those are for credit or not. They have to be for credit. I guess that's one of the things to know.
What age groups does the program focus on? All of them. Really, education from its earliest stages all the way through adult education. So it's just what you're interested in and what you hope to study. And I think we've probably answered this question throughout, but is there flexibility with taking a certain number of credits per semester while working full time? Absolutely. I took one course at a time. Luckily I was able to transfer in. I already had my master's in EPL from the department, but yes, absolutely. Maybe if you're a teacher and you want to take a couple of more courses over the summer, and then sort of take things a little bit slower during the academic year, absolutely fine. I always tell students, test the waters, maybe start with 1, maybe 2 courses and see how that works for you while you're working, and then make your decisions from there.
Currently, I have an advisee who's doing one synchronous and one asynchronous course per semester.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's really smart. That's a great way to plan. So those were our submitted questions. I don't know, has maybe people have already been attending to the chat. I know you guys are usually, let's see. Yeah, usually, yeah. So we have some link in the chat. We had some questions that might have already been answered. So can elective courses be other graduate course from outside the department? Yes. Let's see.
The approval of your advisor, which is what got added.
Oh, okay. Someone asked if you could speak more about completing the program while I work, where you were talking specifically about me while I worked full time. So I should have mentioned early on. So I had a master's degree in educational psychology and methodology. I was able to transfer. I think I got pretty close to the max number from that. And then I also had my master's in educational policy and leadership from this department. So all of those credits automatically applied. I didn't have many courses left to complete. And so again, it was just like Dr. Schiller said, it was all about the dissertation, completing the necessary coursework and getting prepared for my dissertation. I took one course at a time. I had to really structure my schedule, right? So Dr. Schiller also talked about the need for support from other doctoral students. So there were two other doctoral students in my research sequence cohort who were also working full time, and we held each other accountable, or we would meet on the weekends with specific goals in mind. I had very specific and detailed to-do lists that kept me on track. It's certainly a balancing act, but it's absolutely possible. Like I said, lots of people that I went through I always call it a cohort, but it's the final two sequences in the course. You get to know the students in your class really well. Many of them were working like a lot. And so it's certainly possible, but yeah, certainly you need to hone in on your time management skills. I really learned well how to balance and juggle multiple tasks during this program.
I've often said that I think the part-time students actually finish more efficiently than those people who had been full-time students. Because actually, I found that most students, by the time they get to the dissertation phase, they are beginning to do other things like work. And the part-time students have learned how to structure their time. Full-time students haven't, and they don't know how to protect their time. So I find that generally the part-time students actually finish much easier than some of the former full-time students did.
One of the students that I worked very closely with, I believe she graduated, what was it, 6 months after we completed the research sequence coursework. Was that Michelle? She graduated, I think, in December, or
I
maybe
think it was a
1
year.
year. 1
I
year.
think she
Okay.
did. I think she did a year. Yeah.
Yeah. When should I expect a response after submitting my application? That's another great question.
So typically, once your application is complete, and that includes all of your submission in terms of the materials you submit, but then also waiting on your recommendation letters to come in, which can take a little bit of time, or waiting on your transcripts, your official transcripts to come in, which can take a little bit of time. We usually try to get back to students within 4 to 6 weeks after the application is complete. Sometimes we can do so a little more quickly than that. But I would plan for at least 4 to 6 weeks. As Alyssa mentioned, it can be really helpful to have a couple of months that you submit before the semester begins that you'd like to enroll, so that you have time to have your application reviewed and have an opportunity to then accept your admission, get enrolled, get your email address and your UAlbany ID and all of those other things that sort of take a little bit of time. But usually we aim for 4 to 6 weeks after your application is complete.
I will note, if you are applying for a graduate assistantship, though, we do reviews of those in January, February, when after the graduate school tells us how many slots we're going to have. And it's a good idea if you want to apply to be if you're applying for full-time and want to be a graduate assistant, to get it in January. And we usually do awards for the entire year. If you wait until May to submit, we may have already offered the slots to other people.
Another great question. Would it be harder to get accepted into the program if you have a non-education related master's? Yeah, no, I think that's where your statement of goals can come in really handy, to talk about why this, despite maybe some differences in your educational background, what experiences have led you to this program, and what do you hope to get out of it, and what do you hope to do with it? I think those are the things that really, so that's, yeah, I think that's a great question, but yeah, no.
I've had a student whose background is she actually, we couldn't figure out how to transfer in master's materials for her, because her background is in organic chemistry.
Like,
It's like- but she got admitted, yeah, so.
I also had an advisee whose background was I had an advisee with a background in chemistry, a master's in chemistry, and an advisee with a background and master's degree in philosophy. So yes, you can make that transition if you'd like.
Sociologies and public policy are two others that we regularly get.
any other questions? Feel free to either enter them in the chat, or you can even shout them out. We're happy to hear your voice.
Something else to add maybe about the
Yeah.
working full time is that it's pretty safe to say our classes don't start until after 4.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, any of the synchronous courses are almost always offered after the typical work day.
Yeah.
Um,
You ask whether
about whether
they go on to
students
be superintendent. Would you like me to run them off?
Oh yeah, that's
Oliver
extremely common in this
Robinson.
program. I think the reason why an EdD might be seen more typically for superintendents is that there's less of a research focus, maybe a little bit more of a practical or applied focus. Um, but a PhD is absolutely appropriate for a superintendent to have. Um, and I'd also mention, like, the program that we offer allows for the credits that you use to become a superintendent often toward this program.
And for a lot of those students, we see them sort of start in the school building leader program, move on to the school district leader program, and then,
Yeah.
move their way into the PhD program. Again, those credits sort of build as you move along. And so for a lot of those students, they'll sort of do multiple credentials with us sort of on
Yeah,
their
along the
pathway
way.
to that.
Mhm. And Emily, I don't know if you're local to the Capital District, but the Shenandoah Superintendent Oliver Robinson is an alumni of the program.
Joe Dragoni, who'd been at Boston Spa and then was at Cap Region BOCES, he's also a graduate of the program. And if I thought about it, I can give you a longer list of people who have done through the program. So I love them. Oh, anyway, yeah, so a lot of them do it. And I think a lot of them find that the research focus often helps them become more critical thinkers and more deeper thinkers. Are usually known as more innovative thinkers too. When I think about Joe and Oliver in particular, and some of the another one I know, Brian Belair, who's out on the west part, he's Whitesboro. They usually become leaders of leaders.
I was gonna mention that the skills that you gain while completing a traditional research dissertation, um, they help you. So it's not just that you're completing this project and then it's done. They help you throughout your career. You're better at inquiry. You're better at coming up with questions, finding the answers to those questions. Certainly persistence, maybe more than anything. But yeah, absolutely.
So Emily, if you want some references, if you want us to give you some references for us, I will
Follow up with us.
follow up with it.
Thank you guys so much. I guess it's just my intuition in conjunction with research, it leads me towards the PhD over the EdD for a variety of reasons. One of which is I feel the EdD kind of more pigeonholes you to like building school leader, whereas like there's more available for the PhD, and the research piece is so compelling and important in my view. So
Absolutely. That was a great question.
Well, he hasn't gone on to yet to be a building leader. I think he is a building leader, but not a superintendent. We had someone finish last year that did a very, very nice, it's getting a lot of news media play, dissertation on bus drivers.
Ah, yes, yeah.
And you know, thinking about how can you get your bus drivers to stay?
We're coming close to the end of our hour. Does anyone have any additional questions? No? Well, thank you all so much for spending some time with us. I hope that this was helpful. I hope you learned something or lots of things. And I'm just going to put the Pi Center email address in the chat. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, any at all. Thank you all
Thank
so
you
much.
all.
Thank you, everybody from the department, for lending your expertise.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
so much.